Briar Creek, Ohio, was the kind of town people described with a soft smile and a shrug, as if safety were part of the weather. Front doors stayed unlocked. Cars idled in driveways, keys still in the ignition, while someone ran inside to grab a jacket. On winter evenings, porch lights clicked on at the same hour, one by one, like a habit no one questioned anymore. Around here, danger was something that happened elsewhere, on the news, in cities with names that felt far away. Emily Walker had grown up inside that belief. At 8 years old, she knew every crack in the sidewalk between Briar Creek Elementary and the small duplex she shared with her father. She knew which houses smelled like laundry soap, which ones had dogs that barked, but never bit, which porches still played old country music through tinny speakers. The town felt like an extension of her living room, familiar, predictable, harmless. That afternoon, winter pressed down low and gray. The sky hung heavy, like it couldn't decide whether to snow or not. Across the street from the school, Jack Walker waited in his delivery truck, engine humming, gloved hands wrapped around a paper cup of gas station coffee. He worked nights now, overnight freight runs, jobs that paid just enough to keep the lights on and the heat running. It wasn't the life he'd planned, but plans had a way of changing after Emily's mother passed. You adjusted. You kept moving. Emily came out later than usual, backpack slung low, red scarf half untied. Jack rolled down the window. "You okay, Em?" She nodded quickly. After-school reading ran long. Jack glanced at the dashboard clock. He was cutting it close. The warehouse doc didn't like late arrivals, and missing a shift meant missed pay, rent money, groceries, maybe even that home insurance bill he'd been meaning to call about. Adult problems piled up quietly, like snowdrifts. "I've got to head out," he said. "You want a ride or—" "I can walk." Emily said it before he finished. The words practiced, confident. "It's not far." Jack hesitated. The street looked the same as it always had. Kids walked home alone all the time here. Briar Creek wasn't the kind of place that made you worry. "You sure?" Emily smiled. The kind of smile that made parents forget their doubts. "I'm sure." He reached over, tugged her scarf tighter. "Straight home. No shortcuts." "I know." She was already stepping back. Jack watched her for a moment longer than usual. Something about the light bothered him. How fast it was fading. How the air felt sharper. He almost called her back. Almost. Then his phone buzzed with a reminder from work, and the moment passed. Emily turned down the sidewalk, boots crunching softly against frozen gravel. Behind her, the school windows glowed, yellow, warm. Ahead, the street stretched quiet and empty. The old grain warehouse loomed farther down, a dark shape against the sky. The wind cut through her coat, slipped under the scarf, raised goosebumps on her arms. She walked faster. At the police station on the other side of town, the night shift was just settling in. Officer Miles Carter hung his jacket, made small talk with the dispatcher. Road conditions, rising heating costs. In the kennel behind the building, Rex lay curled on his side. Once the pride of Briar Creek's K-9 unit, eyes half closed, joints stiff with age and old injuries. Retirement had slowed his body, but not his instincts. Without warning, Rex's ears lifted. He rose slowly, nose twitching, a low, uneasy sound rumbling in his chest. The scent wasn't clear, not strong, not immediate, but it pulled at something deep, something familiar, something that made his muscles tense, despite the ache. Back near the school, Emily reached the corner where the sidewalk narrowed. She paused, pulled her scarf higher, and glanced down the shorter path past the warehouse. It would get her home quicker, out of the wind. She hesitated, then whispered to herself, "Just this once." Miles Carter hadn't heard Rex make that sound in years. He turned toward the kennel, frowning, as Rex pressed closer to the gate, eyes fixed on nothing Miles could see, and somewhere between the fading school lights and the quiet hum of Briar Creek's evening routines, Emily Walker took one more step forward and said aloud, steady, certain, "I can walk home. I can walk home." The words stayed with Emily as she turned onto the narrower stretch of road, the one most kids avoided once the light started to fade. The shortcut shaved off a few minutes, and tonight, the wind felt sharper by the second. She tucked her hands deeper into her pockets, kept moving, boots scraping against frozen gravel and salt. The town sounded different away from the school. No laughter, no slamming lockers, just the distant hum of traffic on Route 41 and the low whistle of wind slipping between buildings. The old grain warehouse rose ahead of her, brick walls darkened by years of soot and winter storms. Most folks said it would be torn down someday, once the county figured out zoning and insurance paperwork. Until then, it just sat there, empty, quiet, forgotten. Emily hugged the strap of her backpack and quickened her pace. She thought about her dad driving through the night, the way he always waved twice before pulling away. She planned to tell him about the story she'd read after dinner, the one about a dog that crossed 3 states to find its owner. She liked stories where someone didn't give up, even when everything said they should. A gust of wind cut hard across the open lot. It stole her breath. Emily stumbled, caught herself, then laughed nervously into the quiet. "Get it together," she whispered. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. For a second, relief flooded her. Dad. Maybe checking in, but the screen stayed dark, just a low battery warning. She slipped it back, suddenly wishing she'd asked for that ride. Behind her, something shifted. Emily turned her head. The lot was empty. Rusted fencing, weeds bent flat by frost, a half-collapsed loading dock. Nothing else. Still. The feeling didn't leave. She took another step, and her boot slid. Ice, hidden beneath dusted snow. She went down hard. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. A sharp, painful gasp. Her backpack slid off her shoulder. Her palms stung against the frozen ground. Pain bloomed in her ankle. Bright. Sudden. She cried out, the sound small and thin against the warehouse wall. "Hello?" Her voice shook. No answer. Just the wind. She tried to stand. Her ankle buckled, sent her back down. With a whimper. Tears burned her eyes, freezing almost as quickly as they fell. She pulled her coat tighter, the cold seeping through her jeans, through her bones. "I'm okay," she told herself, even as fear crept in. "I just need a minute." Minutes passed. The light faded faster than she expected. Across town. Jack Walker backed his truck into the loading bay, annoyance tightening his jaw. He glanced at his phone. No messages. No missed calls. He told himself Emily was already home, doing homework at the kitchen table. Time 600 mams. Like always. At the police station, Officer Miles Carter poured stale coffee into a chipped mug. Rex paced the kennel, nails clicking softly on concrete. His breathing was shallow, uneven. Miles frowned. "Easy, old man. What's got you worked up?" Rex pushed past him, nose low, following a scent that didn't belong. It was faint, broken, but it pulled at him anyway. Miles grabbed the leash. "Hey, slow down." Rex didn't. Back by the warehouse, Emily's hands had gone numb. She hugged her knees to her chest, trying to block the wind, trying to stay awake. She thought about her dad's voice, about the warmth of their kitchen, about how dumb this shortcut suddenly felt. "Dad?" she whispered. Her breath fogged the air. Thinner now, weaker. Somewhere not far away. Rex lifted his head and let out a low, urgent sound, one that made Miles's stomach drop. "What is it?" Miles asked, already moving. The walk that should have taken 10 minutes had stretched into something else entirely. And Briar Creek, the town that believed nothing ever happened, was about to learn how wrong it could be. And Briar Creek, the town that believed nothing ever happened, was about to learn how wrong it could be. Jack Walker didn't know that yet. All he knew was that his delivery run had gone longer than expected. A delayed pallet, a misprinted label, the usual small things that stole minutes and never apologized for it. By the time he pulled back onto his street, the sky had turned the color of old steel. Porch lights already glowing, up and down the block. Emily should have been home. Jack parked the truck, cut the engine. The quiet felt heavier than normal, pressing in around him as he climbed the front steps. He unlocked the door out of habit, more than need. No one in Briar Creek really locked up. "Em?" he called. No answer. The house smelled faintly of yesterday's coffee and lemon cleaner. The one Emily liked, because it smelled happy. Her boots weren't by the door. Her backpack wasn't slung over the chair, not where it always was. Jack set his keys down slowly, a tightness forming in his chest, one he didn't want to name. "Emily?" He tried again, louder, still nothing. He walked the house, room by room, bathroom light off, bedroom door open, bed untouched, stuffed bear propped neatly against the pillow. In the kitchen, dinner sat cold in the fridge. No note, no half-finished homework, just silence. Jack checked his phone. No missed calls, no texts. Rate slow. "She probably went to Mrs. Donnelly's," he muttered, clinging to the thought like a rope. Emily sometimes stopped there to pet the old woman's cat. It wasn't unusual. It was fine. He grabbed his coat and headed back outside. The cold hit harder this time, bit through the fabric. Jack scanned the street, walked toward the corner, heart ticking faster with each empty stretch. "Emily!" he shouted. A porch light flicked on. Mrs. Halverson stepped out, wrapped in a thick robe. "Jack, everything all right? Have you seen Emily?" His voice shook. "I saw her earlier," she said, "walking. Alone." The word alone landed like a punch. "Which way?" Jack asked. "Toward the school," she said, then hesitated. "Or maybe that old warehouse lot." Jack didn't answer. He was already moving, boots hitting pavement too hard, breath coming too fast. The neighborhood he'd trusted his whole life suddenly felt unfamiliar, full of blind corners and dark spaces. At the police station, Officer Miles Carter pulled on his jacket. Rex strained against the leash, muscles taut beneath graying fur. "You're sure about this?" Miles asked, half to himself. Rex answered by pulling harder, a low whine vibrating in his chest. The scent wasn't strong, but it was wrong, and wrong was enough. They headed into the cold, the patrol car rolling slow beside them. Time 900 pounds. Rex led the way, nose low, tail stiff with focus, back near the warehouse. Jack's flashlight cut across the lot. Frantic sweeps. "Emily! Em! It's Dad!" The wind swallowed his words. Then he saw it. A small shoe. Pink laces stiff with frost. Jack froze. He couldn't breathe. He recognized it instantly. Emily's favorite pair. The ones she wore, even after the soles wore thin. His hands shook as he picked it up. "Emily," he whispered. Panic rushed in. Full force. This wasn't late. This wasn't a shortcut gone long. This was something else. Sirens wailed. Close now. Miles's cruiser pulled in hard. Rex leapt forward, dragging Miles toward the shoe, nose working furiously. The dog circled, once, twice, then snapped his head toward the dark stretch beyond the dock. That way, Miles said, voice tight. We've got a child missing, 8 years old, possible injury. That's my daughter, Jack said. Miles met his eyes. We're going to find her. Rex didn't wait. He surged forward, leash snapping taut, every ounce of his aging body driven by something deeper than training. Fear, cold, a child's scent fading fast. Behind them, Briar Creek began to wake up. Doors opened, flashlights flicked on, voices rose, sharp with alarm, and, somewhere ahead, curled against the cold, Emily Walker fought to keep her eyes open, unaware that her father had finally said the words that mattered most. She's missing. She's missing. The words hadn't even finished echoing before Briar Creek began to move. Patrol lights washed the warehouse lot in red and blue. Color splashed across rusted metal, across frozen weeds. Neighbors arrived in layers of coats pulled on too fast. Faces pale, eyes wide, all carrying the same unspoken fear. This wasn't something that happened here. Not to an 8-year-old. Not on an ordinary winter evening. Jack Walker stood just beyond the police tape. Emily's small shoe clutched in his hand, like proof of a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. He stared at the ground, as if looking away might erase what he'd seen. Officer Miles Carter rested a steady hand on Jack's shoulder, grounding him. We're going to do this right, Miles said. Slow, careful, thorough. Jack nodded. His body trembled anyway. Rex didn't care about procedure. The retired K-9 lunged forward. The moment the leash loosened, nose sweeping low across gravel. His movements were slower now, hips stiff, breath rough, but his focus was razor sharp. He circled the shoe once, inhaled deeply, then angled toward the darkness behind the warehouse. Easy, boy, Miles murmured, more habit than command. Rex pulled harder. Beyond the loading dock, the ground dipped into a shallow ravine, hidden by weeds and shadow. The cold settled heavier here, damp, biting. Rex slowed, nose pressed close to the earth, tracking something faint and broken. Fear, fabric, time 400 mounds. A child's scent, growing weaker by the minute. We've got footprints, a volunteer called out, light catching a partial print, already softening, already disappearing. They're heading down, Miles said into his radio. South side of the lot. Jack pushed forward, panic breaking loose. Emily! Baby, I'm right here! The night swallowed his voice. Rex stopped. Miles nearly stumbled over him. The dog lowered his body, ears angled forward, a low rumble building in his chest. Not aggression, not fear. Urgency. Rex eased down the embankment. Careful. Determined. At the bottom of the ravine, a flashlight caught red. A scarf. Jack slid down beside Miles, knees hitting frozen ground. "That's hers," he whispered. "That's Emily's." The scarf lay twisted, damp, half buried in mud. Rex nudged it gently, lifted his head, eyes locked beyond broken pallets. "That way," Miles said, voice tight. They moved faster now, care giving way to desperation. Lights crisscrossed the ravine, hands shaking. Someone slipped. Someone swore. No one stopped. Then Rex broke free. The leash slipped. The dog surged forward, ignoring screaming muscles, scrambling over debris, until he skidded to a halt. Rex froze. Miles pushed through brush and saw her. Emily lay curled on her side. Coat soaked. One leg twisted beneath her, skin pale, lips tinged blue. She didn't move, didn't make a sound. "Oh God," Jack breathed. He fell beside her. "Emily, baby, please." Rex reached her first, pressed his nose to her cheek, then her mouth, exhaling warm breath. A broken whine escaped him. He nudged her shoulder, then her arm. Careful, insistent. For a terrible second, nothing happened. Then, her fingers twitched, her chest lifted. A shallow, uneven breath. "She's alive!" Miles shouted. "Get an ambulance, now!" Jack sobbed openly, gripping her hand, afraid to squeeze, afraid to let go. "I've got you," he whispered, over and over. Rex stayed pressed against her side, giving what warmth he had left, legs trembling, breath ragged. But he didn't move away. Paramedics arrived, boots sliding, a stretcher lowered. "Severe hypothermia," one said. "We need to move fast." Emily was lifted, wrapped in blankets, IV lines going in. Jack followed, hands hovering, still terrified. Rex tried to follow, staggered, nearly fell. "Easy, boy," Miles said. "You did it. We've got her." Rex forced himself upright, eyes locked on Emily. The ambulance doors opened. Cold air rushed out. Then they closed. Time was 2000s. The sound hit Rex like a blow. He lifted his head and howled, long, aching, echoing through brick and steel. Everything stopped. Rex stood shaking, still on duty behind them. Briar Creek stood silent. The town that believed nothing ever happened had just watched its safety crack open, and none of them knew yet that the hardest part of the night was still waiting under the cold lights of a county hospital. If you were Jack, what would terrify you most right now? The cold, the waiting, or the fear of being too late? Comment 1, 2, or 3 below. The ambulance's red lights vanished down County Road 12, swallowed by distance, by darkness. For a moment, the ravine felt hollowed out, as if the night had taken something from it, and left everyone standing in the cold, unsure where to put their hands, or their hope. Rex didn't move. He stood where the doors had closed, breath tearing in and out of his chest, eyes fixed on the empty road. Snow hadn't fallen yet, but frost was already claiming the ground, crawling up his paws, into his joints. Miles Carter knelt beside him, one hand firm on the collar. "Hey," Miles said softly. "You did your job, old man." Rex shook once, as if the words meant nothing. Job implied an ending. He didn't feel finished. Jack Walker stumbled closer, boots slipping on the embankment, hands smeared with dirt, with tears. His voice was hoarse, worn thin from saying Emily's name too many times. He looked at Rex, really looked at him, and something in his chest shifted. "He stayed with her," Jack said. It wasn't a question. "He kept her breathing." Miles nodded. "He found her. That's what matters." Rex's ears twitched. A distant siren, already fading. He pulled forward. Just a step, testing the leash, nose lifting into the wind. The scent was thinner now, diluted by exhaust, by cold metal. But it was still there. Emily, weak, fragile, alive. "Easy," Miles warned. Rex leaned harder. The leash snapped taut. For a split second, Miles thought about letting go. Protocol said no. Retirement papers said no. Liability, city policy, insurance paperwork, budgets, risk assessments. All of it said no. This was a county operation now. The dog had done enough. Rex didn't care. He twisted, braced his hind legs, and surged forward, with a strength that surprised them both. Miles stumbled, boots skidding. Jack reached out. Fingers brushed fur, then lost it. "Rex!" Miles shouted. The dog didn't look back. He ran along the edge of the road, nails clicking, breath ragged, following the fading thread, toward town, toward light, toward the place where the scent disappeared, behind walls, doors, rules. Miles swore and ran after him. "Dispatch," he barked. "I've got the K9 loose, heading toward Mercy County Hospital." Jack didn't hesitate. He climbed into the cruiser, heart pounding. "Go," he said. "Please." They drove with the siren off, lights low, trying not to lose the dark shape ahead. Rex faltered once, then steadied. Pain lanced through his hip. Old damage, From another winter. He pushed through it anyway, every muscle screaming what his mind refused to hear. The hospital rose out of the dark, like a ship at anchor, windows glowing cold and bright. Rex skidded to a stop at the entrance, chest heaving. The doors opened. Warm air rushed out. Antiseptic. Coffee. It made his head swim. Inside. Nurses froze. A guard straightened. "Hey, no dogs." Rex stepped forward anyway. His nose dropped to the tile, following the scent, through disinfectant, coffee, and the faint metallic hum of machines. He walked, then limped, down the hallway, tail low, ears pinned, focused. Miles burst in behind him. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. He's tracking a patient." Dr. Helen Moore stepped out, clipboard tucked under her arm, irritation forming. Then she saw Rex. The dog stopped at the red line. Outside Trauma Bay 2. He lowered himself, chest to tile, nose pressed to the crack beneath the door. His breathing slowed, sinking with something only he could feel. Dr. Moore followed his gaze. The monitor flickered, unsteady, fragile. "That's her," she said quietly. Rex lifted his head, looked at her. No aggression, no confusion, just need. The hallway went still. Dr. Moore hesitated, then raised a hand, not to stop him, but to the staff behind her. "Give us a minute," she said. "Let him stay." Rex exhaled, a long, shuddering breath. He pressed closer to the door. Instinct hadn't waited for permission and, somehow, against every rule that usually mattered, neither did hope. The building itself seemed to lean in, to listen. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Somewhere down the corridor, a vending machine clanked, then fell silent. Rex lay with his chest against the tile, nose pressed to the thin line beneath the door, breathing in short, careful pulls, as if taking too much air at once might cost him something he couldn't afford to lose. Inside the bay, voices moved faster, core temp still dropping. "Warming blanket on, now. IV's in, but she's not responding the way I want." Jack Walker stood with his back to the wall, palms flat against the paint, trying to keep his knees from giving out. Every word that slipped through the door landed like a weight. He stared at Rex, at the steady focus in the dog's eyes, and wondered how an animal could look more composed than he felt. Dr. Helen Moore stepped back into the hall, tugging off her gloves. Her face held that tight, professional calm, the kind doctors wore, when things could still go either way. "We're doing everything we can," she said. "But hypothermia like this, it's unpredictable." Jack swallowed. "She's a fighter," he said. The words sounded small, even to him. Dr. Moore nodded, but her eyes drifted to Rex. The dog hadn't moved an inch. Rex's body shook now, Not from fear, from exhaustion. The run from the warehouse, the cold, the years of wear, buried beneath discipline. His breath rasped, shallow, uneven, but every time the monitor inside changed pitch, his ears twitched, muscles tightening, as if bracing for impact. Miles Carter crouched beside him. "Buddy," he whispered, "you've got to rest." Rex didn't look at him. A nurse passed by, hesitated, then knelt on the other side. "He shouldn't be here," she murmured. "He's freezing." "I know," Miles said, "but if I move him—" They both looked at the door, at the faint beeping beyond it. Inside. Emily's heart rate wavered again. The sound slipped through the crack, like a warning. Rex reacted instantly. He pushed himself up, trembling legs, a low, urgent sound rumbling in his chest. Claws scraped tile. He leaned toward the door, breath sinking with the frantic rhythm inside. Jack felt his own heart race. "What's happening?" he asked. Panic rising. Dr. Moore turned sharply. "We're losing her temperature again." Rex let out a short, broken whine. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it cut through the hallway. Everyone stopped. Dr. Moore froze, then turned back, really seeing the dog. Not as a problem, not as a rule violation, but as something else. A presence. A constant. "Get him a blanket," she said. "Now." A thick thermal blanket appeared, wrapped gently around Rex's shoulders. Warm water. Time 700. Careful hands. "He's dehydrated," a nurse said, "and cold." Jack dropped to his knees, didn't care who saw. He placed a shaking hand on Rex's neck. "You don't get to quit," he whispered. "Not now. She needs you." Rex's eyes flicked to him, just for a second, then back to the door. Inside. The monitor changed again. Steadier. Slower. Dr. Moore exhaled. "She's responding," she said. "Not out of danger, but responding." The hallway breathed, for the first time in hours. Rex's legs buckled. Miles lunged forward, caught him. The dog sagged, every ounce of strength spent. "Rex," Miles said, "stay with me." Rex didn't black out. He just stopped fighting gravity. His head rested against the door, eyes half-lidded, breath shallow, but still there, still moving. Dr. Moore knelt beside them. "He pushed past the edge," she said, "but he bought her time." Jack covered his mouth, tears falling freely. "So did she," he said. "She bought him time, too." They laid Rex down gently, blankets tucked tight. A heater rolled closer. His chest rose and fell. Uneven. Each breath. A quiet victory. Inside Trauma Bay. 2. Emily's temperature climbed. Another fraction. No one said it out loud, but everyone understood. 2 lives. 1 clock. And for this moment, neither one had run out of time. The door to Trauma Bay 2 slid shut. Soft. Final. The sound felt louder than any siren that night. Jack Walker flinched, as if it had slammed. For a moment, no one moved. Not the nurses at the desk. Not Miles Carter. Still kneeling on the floor. One hand resting on Rex's rib cage, counting breaths. The way you counted seconds, when you were afraid to blink. Not even Dr. Helen Moore. Standing just outside the red line, arms folded tight, eyes fixed on the frosted glass, as if focus alone could keep the numbers from slipping. Inside that room, Emily Walker was fighting for her life. Outside, everything else had to wait. Rex lay on his side, wrapped in blankets, scented with disinfectant and warm fabric softener. His breathing was shallow, but steady. Each rise of his chest, a quiet argument against the cold. Every few seconds, his ears twitched, listening for things no one else could hear. A shift. A warning. Jack sat on the floor beside him, back against the wall, knees pulled close. He hadn't realized he'd sat down. His legs had simply refused to hold him anymore. "I should have driven her," he said, his voice hollow. "I was 5 minutes late." 5 minutes. Miles didn't answer right away. He'd seen this look before. At accident scenes, in living rooms, where bad news lived forever. "You didn't know," he said finally. "Time 200 mum. None of us ever do." Jack shook his head, staring at the door. "This town, we tell ourselves it's safe, so we don't have to be scared." Dr. Moore turned slightly. "Safety can make people careless," she said. "It can also make miracles easier to miss." Her gaze dropped to Rex. The dog shifted. A soft sound escaped him. Not quite a whine, not quite a growl. His paw slid forward until it touched the base of the door. Claws barely brushing metal. He stayed like that. Body angled toward Emily, as if proximity itself mattered. A nurse approached quietly. "Doctor, should we move him to recovery?" Dr. Moore hesitated. Policy. Liability. Rules meant to hold order. Then she looked at Rex's paw. "No," she said. "Not yet." The nurse nodded and stepped back. Time stretched. Minutes passed. That felt like hours. A phone rang, went unanswered. A television murmured somewhere. Selling insurance to no one listening. Outside, the wind rattled the glass. Winter wasn't finished yet. Then the monitor changed tone. Not loud, not dramatic. Just different. Rex reacted instantly. Head lifting, eyes snapping open. He pushed himself upright, muscles trembling. A low sound rose in his throat. Urgent, aching, He pressed closer to the door. Jack's heart slammed. "What's happening? What's happening?" Dr. Moore was already moving. "Heart rate dropped," she said. Then, the tone shifted again, steadier, stronger. The hallway exhaled. Rex sagged, strength draining all at once. He didn't collapse. He simply lowered himself, chin resting against the door. Dr. Moore closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was moisture there. "She's stabilizing," she said. "Not out of danger, but she's holding." Jack covered his face, shoulders shaking. No sound. Just breath and relief. Miles whispered, "Good boy. You hear that? She's still with us." Rex didn't lift his head. He didn't need to. His body stayed pressed to the door, guarding the fragile space beyond it, with the last of his warmth and will. If Emily's heart was still beating, then his job wasn't finished, no matter what any rule book said. Dr. Moore spoke softly. "I've seen medicine save lives," she said, "and I've seen love do things I can't chart." Outside, Briar Creek slept, unaware how close it had come. Inside, under fluorescent lights, Hope sat on the floor, with its paw against a door, waiting. Hope had a strange weight to it. It wasn't light. It didn't float. It pressed down on the chest and made every breath feel borrowed. In the hallway outside Trauma Bay 2, no one spoke anymore. Words felt dangerous, like they might tip the balance in a room where a little girl's heart was still deciding what it wanted to do. Rex lay with his head against the door, eyes half open, glassy with exhaustion. His body no longer trembled, but the effort to stay conscious showed in the shallow rise and fall of his ribs. Every so often, his ears flicked, responding to shifts in sound that hadn't yet reached human ears. Jack noticed it first. Rex's head lifted, just slightly. His nostrils flared, drawing in a deeper breath than he'd taken in minutes. His paw scraped once against the tile. Not panic. Recognition. Miles straightened. "What is it, boy?" Rex pushed himself up, wobbling, then steady. He turned away from the door, for the first time since arriving, and began to walk. Not fast, not frantic. Certain. "Hey, no," a nurse started. "We can't." Dr. Moore raised a hand. "Wait," she said. Rex followed the scent, twisting, thinning, through antiseptic, rubber gloves, past carts and closed doors. He stopped abruptly, nose lifting toward the ceiling vent. Rate slow. Inside Trauma Bay. 2. A monitor chirped. Sharp. Sudden. Dr. Moore snapped toward the sound. "What was that?" Another alarm followed. Different. Shorter. Urgent. Jack surged to his feet, What's happening to my daughter? Dr. Moore was already moving. She's bradying again, she said. Heart rate's dropping. Rex turned back. A low sound rose in his chest. Aching. Urgent. His legs buckled. He made it 3 steps, then collapsed. Rex! Miles dropped beside him. The hallway froze. Rex's breathing turned shallow, uneven. His gums pale beneath fur. Dr. Moore knelt, 2 fingers to his neck. Her jaw tightened. He's crashing, she said. Severe dehydration, cold shock, exhaustion. Jack's voice cracked. Don't tell me. I'm losing him too. Rex stirred. At Jack's voice, ears twitching, head turning, just barely, toward the door. Inside. Emily's heart rate dipped again. Then, something changed. Dr. Moore glanced between monitors, between child and dog. Wait, she murmured. That's... The monitor steadied. Not much, but enough. Rex let out a faint whine, barely audible. His chest lifted, a little deeper. His body relaxed. Just a fraction. Did you see that? A nurse whispered. Dr. Moore nodded. This is the 3rd time, she said. He reacts first. She follows. Get him warmed, she ordered. Fluids, oxygen, right here. Policy, the nurse started. I'll deal with policy, Dr. Moore said. Move. They worked around Rex. Blankets layered. Oxygen fitted gently. His eyes fluttered, never fully closing. One eye stayed fixed on the door inside. Emily's vitals climbed. Another small step. Jack sank beside Rex, hand on his shoulder. She's still fighting, he whispered. You hear me? She's still here. Rex's tail moved. Once. Dr. Moore stood slowly. Years of training told her this made no sense. And yet, there it was. Measurable. Repeated. We don't understand everything. About the human heart, she said, or the animal one. She looked down at Rex. But I'm not ignoring this. For the first time that night, someone said it out loud. Rex wasn't just waiting. He was listening. And somewhere, behind that closed door, a little girl's heart was answering him. The hallway outside Trauma Bay 2 had settled into an unnatural stillness, the kind that only existed when everyone present was afraid to breathe too loudly. Rex lay on a nest of blankets now. Oxygen hissed softly at his muzzle. An IV line ran into the thinning fur of his foreleg. His body was spent, but his awareness had sharpened into something almost painful to witness. He wasn't sleeping. He was listening. Every beep from inside the room reached him before it reached anyone else. Every pause, every shift. When a monitor inside stuttered, Rex's ears flicked a fraction of a second earlier, like a warning bell that rang before the alarm itself. Dr. Helen Moore stood just outside the red line, arms folded, eyes fixed not on the door, but on the dog. She had spent 20 years in emergency medicine. She believed in numbers, in protocols, in evidence. She trusted machines because machines didn't lie. And yet tonight, every machine she trusted seemed to be following a different rhythm. One set not by wires or algorithms, but by a retired K9 lying on a hospital floor. Inside the trauma bay, a nurse spoke softly. Heart rates holding, but fragile. Rex shifted. His chest tightened. His breath caught. The monitor dipped. Dr. Moore's head snapped up. Prepare dopamine. Now. As if pulled by an invisible thread, Rex lifted his head. A low, trembling sound rose from his throat. Half whine, half plea. His body tensed. Paws pressed into the tile as if he were trying to stand, and couldn't quite remember how. The monitor steadied. No one spoke. The nurse looked at Dr. Moore. That's the 4th time. Dr. Moore nodded slowly. She hadn't missed it. She had felt it in her bones. Jack Walker stood against the wall, hands clenched until his knuckles went white. He had stopped counting minutes. He measured time now by Rex's breathing and the sound of his daughter's heart on the other side of the door. She knows he's here, Jack said quietly. She has to. Miles Carter shifted. Exhaustion carved deep into his face. That dog spent his whole career finding people who didn't want to be found, he said. Guess he's not done. Dr. Moore turned toward him. This doesn't fit any model I know, she admitted. But I've learned something over the years. She looked back at Rex. When something keeps happening, you stop asking if it's real and start asking what it means. Rex's breathing faltered again. His head lowered. His body sagged. Jack moved instantly, dropped to his knees. Hey, he whispered. Stay with me. You hear me? You're not done. Rate. Rex's eyes opened wider, locked onto Jack for just a second, then drifted back to the door. His chest rose, a deeper breath, like someone choosing to stay awake when sleep felt easier. Inside Trauma Bay 2, Emily's lips parted. A sound came out, so soft it almost didn't exist. Did you hear that? Dr. Moore leaned closer. Emily. Another sound. A breath. A whisper caught between worlds. Rex. The room exploded into motion. She's vocalizing. Heart rate climbing. Keep her warm. Don't let her drop again. Outside, Rex reacted instantly. Ears snapped upright. Tail twitched once. A faint, broken sound escaped him. Relief trying to survive exhaustion. Jack covered his mouth. She said his name, he choked. Dr. Moore stepped into the hall. I can't explain that, she said. But I won't ignore it either. Rex's breathing slowed. His body finally rested. Not surrender. Trust. His head sank into the blankets. Eyes still open. Still watching. Inside the trauma bay, Emily's vitals stabilized, inching by fragile inch towards safety. For the first time that night, Dr. Moore felt something shift, not just in the patient, but in herself. She knelt beside Rex, hand pressed to his neck, feeling the stubborn pulse beneath. "Whatever you are," she murmured, "keep doing it." The machines hummed on, but in that hallway, everyone understood the truth. Science hadn't caught up to yet. They weren't just monitoring a heartbeat anymore. They were witnessing a conversation. The hallway didn't notice when Rex stopped breathing the way he had been. There was no alarm for that. No machine attached to his chest to announce the shift. Just a silence. Wrong. Too sudden. Too complete. Like the air had slipped out of the room without asking permission. Jack felt it first. He didn't know how. Maybe it was the way Rex's ribs stopped lifting. Maybe it was instinct. The same kind that had woken Rex hours earlier in a kennel across town. Jack's hand tightened on the dog's shoulder. "Hey," he whispered. "Hey, buddy." Rex didn't respond. Miles Carter was already moving, dropping to his knees, fingers pressing into thick fur, at Rex's neck, his face drained of color. "Doc," he said, "I need you here." Dr. Helen Moore turned. One glance told her everything. She crossed the distance in 3 strides, knelt, airway, pulse, gums. "His pressure's crashing," she said. "He's shutting down." Jack's voice broke. "No. You can't tell me I lose him too. Not after—" Rex's body jerked once, a shallow reflex, a breath tried and failed to form. Dr. Moore snapped her head up. Fluids, warmed, oxygen, full, now. A nurse hesitated. "Doctor, he's a—" "I know what he is," Dr. Moore snapped. "Move." The hallway transformed. A crash cart. IV bags torn open. A heater dragged close. Its low hum felt painfully inadequate. Jack pressed his forehead to the floor. "You didn't quit out there," he whispered. "You don't get to quit now." Inside Trauma Bay. 2. A monitor chirped. Once. Then again. Emily's heart rate dipped. The sound cut through the chaos. 2 lives. 1 hallway. No margin left. Rex's chest rose. A shallow gasp. Uneven. Miles exhaled hard. "He's still here." "Barely," Dr. Moore said. "Hypothermic. Severely dehydrated. Running on adrenaline and instinct alone." Jack looked up. "Then help him," he said. He helped her. Dr. Moore didn't answer. She acted. IV placed. Oxygen flowing. Heat layered. Breath returning in fragments. Inside. Emily's monitor steadied. Not by chance. Dr. Moore froze. "That's not possible," a nurse whispered. Dr. Moore didn't argue. Rex's eyes opened, locked onto the door. Even now, even like this. He tried to lift his head. Failed. Tried again. Failed again. "Easy," Jack begged. "You did enough." Rex ignored him. Time 4000s. His paw twitched, dragged forward, inch by inch, until it touched the door. Contact. Proof. Connection. Inside. Emily's heart rate climbed. Dr. Moore knelt beside Rex. "You don't have to carry this alone," she murmured. "We've got her." Rex's eyes closed. Not surrender. Trust. The hallway held its breath. 2 lives. 1 thin line. Balanced together. And for the first time that night, the clock hesitated. The first sound Emily made wasn't a cry. It wasn't even a word. Not the way adults used words. It was a breath, shaped like memory. Thin, uncertain, aching with effort. The warming blankets hummed softly. Machines kept their vigil. Green, amber, blinking in patient rhythms. Dr. Helen Moore leaned in close, her voice gentle, but firm. The way you spoke to someone standing at the edge of waking. "Emily," she said. "Sweetheart, can you hear me?" Emily's eyelashes trembled. Her lips parted. The room stilled. Every movement suspended, as if time itself had been told to wait. Another breath came, deeper this time. Then a whisper, fragile, like frost on glass. "Rex." The nurse froze. Dr. Moore felt her throat tighten. She glanced through the glass, toward the hallway, toward the shape wrapped in blankets. "Yes," Dr. Moore said softly. "He's here." Outside, Rex's ears flicked. Not a full movement. Just enough. Enough to say something had reached him. His chest lifted. A steadier breath. Oxygen hissing in time. Miles Carter straightened. "He heard that," he murmured. Jack Walker pressed a hand to his mouth. "She called him," he said. Disbelief. Relief. Tangling together. She knows. Inside the trauma bay, Emily's fingers twitched. Searching. Dr. Moore guided her hand gently. "You're safe," she said. "You're in the hospital. Your dad's right outside." Emily's brow creased. "Rex?" she whispered, fear threading the word. Dr. Moore made a decision. Before her mind could finish listing reasons not to. Policy. Liability. Compliance. All of it fell away. "I'm going to let him come in," she said. It wasn't a question. The door slid open. Rex was helped to his feet. He wobbled, but leaned forward with purpose. Step by careful step. He crossed the threshold. Emily's eyes opened. Not wide, not fully, but enough. Her gaze found him immediately. Rex lowered himself beside the bed, chin resting on the mattress, eyes level with hers. He let out a long breath, trembling, heavy with the weight of the night. Emily's fingers reached out, slow, uncertain. They brushed the fur between his eyes. There was a sound then. Not a machine. Not a person. But Rex, a soft exhale. As if something he'd been holding since the warehouse had finally been released. "Don't go," Emily whispered. Rex didn't move. He didn't need to. Jack sank into the chair, tears slipping free, without shame. He watched their breathing. Time 3,000. Slow, careful, shared. Dr. Moore stepped back. No chart, no code, no explanation. Just eyes. And enough. The machines stayed quiet. Emily's vitals held. Rex's pulse strengthened. The room exhaled. Dr. Moore spoke softly. "She's out of immediate danger. Both of them are. But they'll need time." Jack brushed his daughter's hair back. "We've got time," he said. "We're not going anywhere." Rex closed his eyes, still pressed to the bed, still listening. Not for alarms, not for danger, for her breathing. The trauma bay no longer felt like a battlefield. The sharp urgency had softened. Machines hummed instead of screamed. Footsteps were measured, not rushed. Emily slept now. Her small hand rested on Rex's head, as if it belonged there. Her breathing came slow, even. Each rise of her chest, a quiet promise. The night had not won. Rex stayed pressed against the bed, eyes half open, refusing the kind of rest that would take him too far from her. The IV drip ticked beside him, clear fluid returning to a body that had given more than it had to spare. A nurse adjusted the line. She smiled, despite herself. "He's stabilizing," she said quietly. "Still weak, but he's holding." Jack sat close, elbows on his knees, hands clasped, like prayer, without words. He hadn't moved, not since Rex entered the room. Every few seconds, his gaze bounced, from his daughter's face to the dog at her side, afraid one might disappear if he looked away too long. Dr. Helen Moore stood at the foot of the bed, chart tucked against her chest, eyes thoughtful. She had documented the facts: hypothermia, dehydration, exposure. The language insurance companies understood. None of it captured what had happened here. "She'll need observation overnight," Dr. Moore said softly, "and a few days after, but she's past the worst." Jack nodded. "Thank you," he said. Dr. Moore shook her head. "Thank him," she said, glancing at Rex. Jack swallowed. His fingers brushed the dog's fur, with reverence. "I don't know how to repay you," he whispered. Rex opened one eye. It wasn't a look asking for gratitude. It said the job wasn't over. Not yet. He shifted closer, careful not to disturb her. Miles Carter watched from the doorway, arms folded loosely, exhaustion settling into his bones. "He's always been like that," he said. "Once he decides someone's his responsibility, That's it. Dr. Moore nodded. We teach ourselves to detach, she said. Tonight, I watched an animal refuse to. Outside the window, the wind eased. Frost softened on the glass. Heat pushed back against the night. Somewhere in the hospital, a television murmured. Life insurance. Long-term care. The normal world finding its way back. Inside this room. Time slowed. Emily stirred. Her fingers tightened in Rex's fur. Rex felt it instantly. He lifted his head, nudged her hand. A soft, grounding pressure. I'm here, Jack whispered. You're safe. Emily didn't wake. Her breathing deepened, settled. Dr. Moore checked the monitor once more, then turned away, giving them privacy. At the door, she paused, looked back, at the child, the dog, the father between them. Time 1000, Mom. I'll be right outside, she said. If anything changes. Jack nodded. It won't, he said, surprised by the certainty. Rex finally allowed his eyes to close. Not fully. Just enough. The kind of rest that trusted the room to hold what mattered. For the first time since the afternoon bell rang at Briar Creek Elementary, the night released its grip. Fear loosened. Guilt softened. The future felt possible again. Two bodies lay still in warm light, connected by something no chart could measure, no policy could forbid. Outside, the town slept on, unaware a line had been crossed and pulled back. Inside, survival wasn't loud. It was gentle. It was breathing. And it stayed. Morning arrived quietly at Mercy County Hospital. It slipped in through narrow windows and pale blinds, like it didn't want to wake anyone. The storm that had wrapped Briar Creek the night before had moved on. It left behind a thin frost, catching the early light and turning it silver. Emily slept through it. Her breathing was steady now, deeper, stronger. The monitor beside her bed had settled into a calm, almost comforting rhythm. Rex lay on the floor at her side, his body stretched out on a thick hospital mat. The IV line was still in place. The oxygen had been removed sometime before dawn. He hadn't moved much. He hadn't needed to. Jack woke with a stiff neck and aching shoulders, realizing he'd dozed off in the chair again. For a moment, fear tried to rush back in. Then he saw her chest rise, saw Rex's ear flick at the sound of her breath, and the panic retreated. Dr. Helen Moore entered quietly, coffee untouched in her hand. She checked the chart, then the machines. Then, out of habit more than necessity, she checked Rex. Vitals are holding, she said softly. Both of them. Jack stood slowly, rubbing his eyes. She wake up yet? Not fully, Dr. Moore replied, but she's close. As if on cue, Emily shifted beneath the blanket. Her fingers curled, then relaxed. Her eyelashes fluttered, like she was surfacing from deep water. Rex noticed instantly. He lifted his head. His tail gave a faint thump against the mat. Emily's eyes opened. She blinked once, twice. Confusion passed over her face. Then memory caught up. Her gaze drifted from the ceiling to the machines, then down. "Rex," she whispered. Jack laughed and cried at the same time. "Yeah, kiddo," he said. "He's right here." Emily smiled, weak but certain. She reached down. Rex pushed himself up just enough to meet her hand. His nose was warm against her palm. He exhaled, slow, satisfied, like he'd been waiting all night for that single moment. Dr. Moore stepped back, giving them space. "Welcome back, Emily," she said gently. "You gave us all a scare." Emily frowned slightly. "It was cold," she said, then quieter. "But he stayed." Jack knelt by the bed. "He sure did." Word spread, faster than anyone expected. A nurse told another nurse. A paramedic told his partner. By mid-morning, people paused at the doorway, not to gawk, but to look, to understand. "That's the dog," someone whispered. Outside, Briar Creek woke up too. A handwritten note appeared at the diner. "Emily Walker is alive." Another line followed. "Time 3000s. So is the K9 who found her." Coffee cups froze mid-air. Conversations fell silent. Then everyone spoke at once. By noon, cards arrived. Flowers. A crocheted blanket, made overnight. Envelopes addressed simply to Rex. Dr. Moore watched from the hallway. "We prepare for emergencies," she said. "But no one teaches you what to do when something extraordinary walks in." Miles smiled faintly. "You let it sit where it belongs." Back in the room, Emily drifted in and out of sleep. Her hand never far from Rex's fur. Jack watched them. Something settled in him. This dog had crossed a line with them. Dr. Moore knelt beside Rex, checked his bandage. "You're going to be okay," she said. "Both of you are." Rex didn't react. He already knew. Outside, the frost melted. The town exhaled. Inside a small hospital room, two survivors stayed close. Not because they had to, but because neither of them wanted to let go. By afternoon, Briar Creek felt different. Not louder, not busier, just closer. Word moved the way it always did in a small town. Across counters, through quiet phone calls, by a waitress leaning in and saying, "Did you hear about the Walker girl?" It reached the hardware store before lunch, the church steps before evening. People didn't argue details. They didn't need to. What mattered was simple. A child had nearly slipped away, and a dog had refused to let her. At Mercy County Hospital, the lobby filled without ever feeling crowded. People came in twos and threes, coats dusted with frost, hands wrapped around paper cups of coffee. They spoke softly, like they were inside a sanctuary. A retired school teacher left coloring books at the desk. "For Emily," she said, "when she's bored." A trucker dropped off a heavy fleece blanket, swore it was warmer than anything sold in stores. Someone taped a handwritten sign to the bulletin board. "Welcome back, Emily. Thank you, Rex." Jack Walker stood near the doorway, watching it all with stunned gratitude. He hadn't asked for help. He hadn't known how. Yet here it was. Meals offered, rides promised, insurance questions already being sorted, handled quietly, by people who didn't want credit. Time £12,000. Inside the room, Emily rested against her pillows, color back in her cheeks. She wasn't talking much yet. "That's normal," Dr. Moore said. "Her body's catching up. The rest will come." Rex lay at her side. No IV, just a bandage, and her presence. His breathing was easy now, deep, sure. When someone entered, his eyes opened, not wary, just aware, then closed again when Emily's hand brushed his ear. "He won't leave her," a nurse whispered. Jack smiled. "I don't think she'd let him." In the hallway, policies were mentioned, procedures, liability. At the end, Dr. Moore nodded once. "He stays," she said, "as long as she's here." No one argued. That evening, deputies stopped by, not official, just to check in. Miles Carter lingered at the door. "He did good," he said. "He did everything," Jack replied. Emily stirred. "Daddy?" she murmured. "I'm here, Peanut," Jack said. "People keep coming," she whispered. "They're glad you're okay." She thought, then looked at Rex. They're glad he didn't go away. Rex's tail thumped once. As dusk settled, the town gathered outside. Not for speeches, not for ceremony, just to be near. Headlights dimmed, handmade signs. A small fire burned, smoke lifting in a hopeful line. From the window, Emily watched. "It's pretty," she whispered. "Yeah," Jack said. "It is." Dr. Moore stood nearby. "This town," she said, "they don't forget." Emily slept again. Her hand tightened in Rex's fur. Rex stayed still, a steady weight of warmth and presence. Outside, Briar Creek didn't cheer. It didn't celebrate. It simply stayed. Together. Holding on to the fragile truth that sometimes survival doesn't look like victory. Sometimes it looks like showing up. Emily was cleared to go home just after noon. Dr. Helen Moore delivered the news the way she delivered everything else. Calm, careful, grounded in facts. Jack Walker heard only the part that mattered. Stable, recovering, no permanent damage expected. The rest blurred into background noise, like the steady hum of a hospital that had held his world together when it nearly came apart. Emily sat on the edge of the bed. A borrowed sweater hung loose around her shoulders. Someone from town had brought it by that morning. Her feet dangled above the floor as Jack helped her into her boots. His fingers fumbled. More than usual. "Slow down, Dad," she said softly. A small smile tugged at her mouth. Jack laughed, wiping his eyes. "You don't get to rush me today." Rex stood nearby, a little thinner, a little grayer, but steady. The bandage on his leg peeked through his fur. He watched Emily with the same quiet focus. No urgency now, just certainty. A nurse opened the door. "Your ride's ready." The hallway filled as they stepped out. Nurses paused. Orderlies nodded. A man waiting with paperwork tipped his cap. No one clapped. No one spoke loudly. Respect moved through the space like a shared instinct. At the lobby doors, the light surprised them. Briar Creek waited outside. Not a crowd. No banners. Just people. Time 200 mamus. Standing where they could be seen. Neighbors. Teachers. The woman from the diner. Kids from Emily's class held crooked signs. Hearts. Paw prints. A handwritten note was taped to the glass. "Welcome home." Emily squeezed Rex's fur. "They came," she whispered. Jack nodded. "Yeah, they did." The doors slid open. Cold air. Sunlight. Rex stepped forward first. Paused. Then glanced back at Emily, like he was checking one last thing. "Go," she told him gently. He did. Outside, no one cheered. A few people waved. Someone wiped their eyes. Sheriff's deputies stood back, hats in their hands. Not official, just present.